My stomach turns. All right, Jay. I get the picture. Why didn't the man get help? He rolls his eyes as if it's obvious. Because he couldn't leave the lighthouse unmanned, could he? He sent distress signals, but nobody could come for months. The sight of his dead friend hanging there sent him quite mad, apparently. Not surprised. Can we change the subject now? I asked. He grins at me, his eyes twinkling. Sure. Is that what Ruth was talking to you about? While she was laughing at your jokes and generally being a flirt? It slips out and I notice the ripple of surprise on Jamie's face. He shrugs, good-natured. I still got it. He winks at me. What can I say? I push his arm playfully. Oh, you love it, I laugh. As long as you remember your mind. How can I forget? We walk to the top of the grassy incline to get a better view of the sea and the jagged rocks below. The land just out beneath us in zigzag shape. Is that a seal? I say, nudging Jamie and pointing to the dark patch of sea where something sticks up from the water. No, just a rock, says Jamie, skirting. He holds up my phone to take a few more shots. I'm aware of a surge of tourists chatting in French behind me. Over Jamie's shoulders, I notice a man, perhaps in his late 30s, wearing an oversized gray fleece with a high collar that obscures his chin and a black beanie pushed down over his head. It reminds me of a tea cozy mom used when I was a child. He has a camera with a zoom lens swinging from his neck, and a face as stormy as the sea below. There was something familiar about him. Now he has his camera angled in Jamie's direction. He keeps lifting it to his eyes as if he's paparazzi. Every time Jamie moves, so does the man in his camera. Jamie's oblivious, filling me in on a documentary on seals that he seen last night after I went to bed. Something about the man is bothering me. Is he trying to take a photo of Jamie? Well, the camera aimed at Jamie, so he clearly trying to take a picture of Jamie. You sure that's a you thing? I have a fleeting paranoid thought that he's a police or a private detective, and my palms sweat. I gently steer Jamie farther up the hill in an effect to make us inconspicuous among the throngs of tourists. I glance back at the calf longingly. I'm desperate for caffeine, but we can't stop now. I scan the faces behind me for the man in his camera. I can just about see his beanie hat over the shoulder of a tall woman. Is his focus no longer on us? Maybe he wasn't aiming his camera at us after all. I turn back to Jamie, relieved. Of course, he's not some private detective. Who would even think about hiring one? And why? I'm just about to ask Jamie if we can go back and grab a coffee when I hear him cry out and he stumbles into my side, knocking me forwards. It happens so quickly, I lose my footing on an uneven ground and trip. I'm so instant on trying to protect my broken arm that I find myself catering down the hill towards the cliff's edge. Blood pounds in my ear as I imagine plummeting into the rocks below, but I can't stop myself. It's like I'm on a treadmill and I can't get off. I hear someone scream and I'm not sure if it's me. The next thing I know, I'm being pulled backwards by the scarf around my neck and I feel familiar hands grabbing my waist. It's okay, Lips. I got you, says Jamie, his voice breathless with fear. I've got you. We're on the ground before the land falls away. If I'm going any farther, it would have been too late. My legs are weak. My throat hurts where Jamie has pulled the scarf. I let him lead me back up the hill so that we are safely on the pavement. Then we sink to the ground together, like we are conjoined. I'm trembling all over. Horrified tourists gather around us, asking if I'm okay. An older man returns from the nearby calves and thrusts a cup of tea wordlessly into my hands. I take it gracefully, my teeth shattering as I stammer out a thank you. His kindness along with shock makes my eyes fill up. My God, Lips, you nearly went over the edge, Jamie says, a tremor in his voice. I'm so sorry. I felt a shove in my back, pushing me into you. He licks distraught. Don't worry, I don't think you were trying to kill me. I try to smile as I sip my tea, warming my hands against the cup. Not funny, he says, but he gives me a watered-down grin. Shit, that was scary. The tourists begin to disperse. Now they can see we're unharmed. Did you see who pushed you? I say, feeling sick. He frowns, not really. A guy was standing by me, big fella, broad, tall, but not sure if it was him. Was he wearing a beanie? Jamie frowns. I'm not sure why. But before you fell into me, I noticed the guy. He had a camera around his neck and he was taking photos. So, of you. He had a camera trained on you, Jay. He shuffles and looks uncomfortable, his ass sliding away from mine. Why would he be doing that, he mumbles. I let a beat or two pass before saying, I don't know. I saw your hand in my cup. He stands up, helps me to my feet. Look, lips. It was an accident. There were too many of us standing together. You're not telling me you think this bloke did it on purpose, are you? Yes. We got a target. I stare at the ground, my mind racing. I'm not sure. No, I don't think so. It's just, this guy was interested in you. Jamie smirks. Maybe he's fancied me. Like Ruth, huh? I can't help but laugh. Don't be an idiot. He wraps his arms around me. You feel freezing. Come on. Let's go and get something to eat to warm you up. Then we better get back to Ziggy. I nod and allow him to guide me towards the calf. But I feel uneasy as I scan the crowds and the stragglers who are making their way toward the lighthouse in the car park. It doesn't matter what Jamie says. I know I'm not being paranoid. There was something strange about that man and the interest he had taken in my husband. Pay attention to it. Okay, maybe I could fix it, put myself right with 6. It's dusk by the time we get back to the hideaway. From the lane, I can see the security lights have come on in the back garden, bleaching the lawn and throwing shadows over the trees and bushes so that they look as though they have been painted black. Why are the lights on? Jamie steers the car into the driveway, and immediately the house security lights come on. He switches the engine off and turns it on. Turns to me. Are you okay? He asks when he sees I'm not making any effort to get out of the car. The lights are on in the back garden. I saw them from the lane. His brow knits together. I wonder if he's going to criticize me. Tell me I'm being skittish, but he doesn't. Probably a cat or something, he says. A cat or something? What? We ain't seen no animals. We've been out here a couple of days. What are you talking about, a cat or something? It's somebody is out here in these unknown... He opens the car door and Ziggy jumps out, kicking up the gravel as he scrambles toward the house. I follow, trying to ignore the sinking feeling I have inside. I pull my coat further around my body to stop the wind yanking at the fabric and look around me, at the bushes and trees that encircle the property, at the high walls. Was someone in the garden? I go to the gate, the only access to the back, running my fingers along the rough wood as though I'm a forensic scientist. There is no lock. Someone could have easily got in, or come from the beach. I suddenly feel nauseous and can't work out if it's car sickness or worry. What are you looking for? Jamie's by my shoulder. I shrug. I have no idea. Evidence, I suppose. Jamie snorts out with laughter. Evidence? What are you, Miss Marple? There's not been a bloody murder, Lips. He sounds so unconcerned. I find myself believing that there is nothing to worry about. He takes my hand, giving it a reassuring squeeze. Come on, let's go around the back, and then you can see for yourself. My mom's got security lights in her garden, and they're always coming on. And it's usually because of the neighbor's cats. He's talking in that fake, jovial voice again, as though I'm an elderly person or a child who needs to be nudged along. He leads me around to the back of the house, now in total darkness. The lights only come on as we approach the by-4 doors. He pulls a key from his pocket and locks them, sliding them open and going into the kitchen. I stay where I am. From here, I can see the sea, gray and angry as it drains the last of the light. Everything looks like a little drab in the twilight. I scan the garden, the rattan furniture, the patio. Nothing seems out of place. I wish not for the first time the next house wasn't so far away. I can see the Jamie's making us a cup of tea from the tap, the steam visible in the cool air. He looks so at home, so relaxed, in the Haywood state-of-the-art kitchen. Ziggy is by Jamie's side, tapping his leg with his paw, wanting his tea. I inhale deeply. Everything as it should be. The light was set off by a cat, not an intruder. No more, no less. Stop overthinking it, Libby. We got only on page 54. Libby could die. Got like really squeeze. Yes, Libby could die. We got 326 pages. Libby could die. The next morning, we were strolling along the beach, Ziggy at our feet, discussing Jamie's younger sister, Katie, who's having boyfriend troubles yet again. Jamie's the middle child of the 3, the only son, and the sisters are always giving him grief in one way or another. One minute they're overly protective, and the next they are leaning on him when they're going through rough patches with their various men in their lives. Jamie's father died when he was at university before he met me. He had been with Hannah then, his childhood sweetheart, the girl whose heart he had broken. So his mother is constantly telling me. I sense Sylvia wishes her only son had married Hannah instead of me, which she proves by inviting Hannah, now a single mother with a little boy, over at every available opportunity, as if she is one of the family and not some ex of Jamie's from 10 years ago. Oh snap! And she got a kid. Who kid is it? Is it his? Is he a deadbeat daddy? Is she trying to be a grandmama? The fact that she's been Katie's best friend since that they were about 7 doesn't help. Katie has never taken to me. I can tell by the way she speaks to me, cutting and uninterested. The way her eyes follow me around the room, silent and disapproving. I try not to let it bother me. Dang, his daughter don't even like you? I mean, his sister don't even like you? I know Jamie loves me. That any feelings he might have had for Hannah have stayed firmly in the past. And I feel sorry for her. She's had a rough time. She's married a man who's a player, walking out of her when she was pregnant. She's quiet, with large, watchful eyes. It's obvious she still adores Jamie. It's written all over her face every time she looks at him. Sometimes when I spot Jamie and Hannah together at gatherings, her 4-year-old Felix rests between them so that they look like a family unit, I experience the pain of insecurity and hope that Sylvia could be so insensitive. Yeah, she bringing this lady and her kid around, reminding you that you can't have kids, reminding him that he could have had a kid with her, that she'd have passed. It's so sad. It doesn't help that they all live down the road from us. Sometimes the sheer force of their collective personalities and histories make me feel stifled. I can't help but feel like an outsider. I don't have my own close-knit group. Jamie's all I got. But in Cornwall, we are away from all that. It's just me and Jamie. I can breathe again. It has rained in the night, and the sand is still so damp that our trainers leave prints in our wake. We amble along, hand in hand, Ziggy loping in front of us. The rear of the hideaway is visible from the beach, although it's so high up that you have to navigate about 100 steps cut into a walk face to reach our garden from here. I glance up toward the house and freeze, dropping Jamie's hand. My heart quickens. There's a man standing there, in our garden, watching us. Jamie! He's a little way ahead now, oblivious that I'm no longer by his side. He turns toward me and traces his step. What's wrong? There's someone in our garden. Up there, look! The man has a camera around his neck. He holds it up to his face. I feel a burst of anger. How dare he? Jamie looks up and skirts. What the? He frowns. Who the fuck is that? The beanie, the camera. I realize with a jolt who it is. It's the man from yesterday. Jamie sprints toward the steps, his feet kicking up wet sand. Hey! He yells, although his voice is snatched by the wind and it's doubtful the man would be able to hear him from this distance in any case. Jamie! I call out to him. Don't! Come back! I'm unsure what to do. Should I ring someone? I fish my phone out of my pocket. But of course, there is no signal down here on the beach. Who would I call anyway? Who could help us? I lean down to hug Ziggy's neck. He's watchful, his ears forward alert. The man, realizing that Jamie is running towards him, suddenly backs away out of view. What if he attacks Jamie when he reaches the top? Ziggy suddenly leaps into action, charging after Jamie, making light work of the steps so that he's beside him within seconds. I feel better knowing that Jamie has a dog with him, because she's clearly not going up there. Ziggy is placid, but he'll attack if Jamie was in trouble. They disappear into the garden. I stand, rooted to the spot, mumbling a prayer to God that I'm not sure I believe in. Please, God, please keep Jamie safe. I'm too scared to move. So much for being a heroic, the irony. I feel exposed, standing on the empty beach by myself with just the backs of a few houses high up on a hilltop for company. I would have been took off. Like, you ain't nothing around. I gotta make sure my husband and the love of my life is good. My dog just went up there. I love that motherfucker too. Let me go. The imprint of Ziggy's paw prints dotted between Jamie's footprints are the only sign that I haven't been alone. Everything is too quiet. There's the sound of the waves brushing the shoreline. Eventually, after what seems like hours, but can only have been 5 minutes at the most, Jamie reappears. He makes his way down the steps, Ziggy barking behind him, and I dart across the beach to meet them. Are you okay? Was it the same man as yesterday? I rush into his arm and he kisses the top of my head. I was really worried. You shouldn't be running with your broken arm. He admonishes into my hair. By the time we reach the top, he'll gone. I checked the grounds, nothing. He hasn't tried to break in or anything. I reckon it was a tourist charging his luck. The views are spectacular. I can feel him grinning against my head. Oh my goodness, this man is either trying to kill you or something. Something is amiss here. Something is amiss. Well, what? I pull away. Why would it have been a tourist? It's too remote here for tourists, surely. It's got to be the same guy as yesterday. He was wearing the same hat. Lots of people wear beanie slips. Yes, but he frowns, and we're tourists. Anyway, he might have driven past and wanted a better view. I don't know, but there's no sign of him now. He can't have just disappeared. Where would he have gone? This isn't another house. There isn't another house for at least a quarter of a mile. You would have seen him. Maybe he's still there, lurking in the bushes. My voice just rises with each word. Jamie shakes his head and holds up his hand to stop my tyrants. He might have been in a car and thought the place was empty. But our car is parked in the driveway. Listen, Jay, if it was the same man who pushed you yesterday, it can't have been. He sounds calm, but I know there's a pulse throbbing in his jaw. Lizard Point is miles away from here, and nobody pushed me. You said you felt a shove. Yes, I did. There was a crowd. We were all standing close together. I don't think anyone deliberately tried to hurt me. He has pity in his eyes as he looks down at me. I know why you're thinking this, Lips. I understand. What the fuck I'm thinking this? Why am I thinking that somebody pushed you? Why am I thinking that somebody... Or am I thinking this because you said somebody pushed you? Because that's what the fuck happened. He said somebody pushed him. You not finna... I push him away. Please don't tell me you think this is all down to PTSD again, Jay. I fling my arms up. Exaggerated. And then whines and playing. You should be wearing your sling. I don't want to. And you're changing the subject. There's nothing to worry about. His tone is final. I want to say more. So much more. But I'm where I'll just sound like a nagging, neurotic wife, so I keep my mouth shut as I shadow Jamie through the garden and into the house. Even though Jamie doesn't say it, I can sense he's disappointed that my neurosis since the fire hasn't stayed behind in Bath, but has followed us on holiday. He was hoping this break would be a therapy of sorts. Really? Well, you once you go to therapy, but you think this would be therapy when you go, okay, really? And maybe this is all down to post-traumatic stress. Maybe I am imagining that this is the same man from yesterday. I don't know what to think. I'm not normally an edgy person. I always thought of myself as a risk-taker, driven, independent, capable. I didn't have a best childhood. The truth is, my father was an alcoholic. He always had a problem with drinking, preferring to spend most evenings down at the pub, frittering away my mother's hard-earned cash. I sit with her in front of the television in our spiritually furnished living room, eating meat pie and chips off trays on our lap, while we both pretended we weren't waiting on tender hooks for him to come bursting through the door, unnaturally jolly and smelling the booze of cigarettes. Then when I was 14, Mom died and everything was just a little bit worse. My grief-stricken father stopped working altogether, and I had to support us both with my meagre earnings from weekend jobs. When the drink eventually killed him, I left it all behind to go traveling alone. All I wanted was to get as far away from Yorkshire, my village, and my old existence as possible. When I returned from Thailand after the hostel fire, I moved to Middlesex and worked hard to get my teaching certification. Funded myself by stacking shelves in supermarkets and pulling paints behind the bar. Anything to have a better life than the one fate had dealt me, and determined not to end up like my put up on mother. What would she think now about where I ended up? I like to imagine she would be proud of me. I hardly ever talk about the time. Jamie doesn't know the half of it. He doesn't need to. It would be too depressing for him to hear about my childhood. So different from his. He probably wouldn't understand. How could he? I lost touch with everyone that day. The day I took the flight to Thailand 9 years ago. A fresh start. By the time I met Jamie in the pub in Bath, when I was nearly 25, I felt I had already lived a long life. I recently moved to the area after getting a teaching job, and I hardly knew anybody. I stood at the bar with my colleague, Sierra, scolding at any man who dared look in my direction. barriers firmly up when Jamie came up and asked to buy me a drink. He wasn't put off by my surliness. And with his floppy blonde hair and kind eyes, he reminded me of a little of my first love. Jamie later told me he saw straight through my no-nonsense attitude to the scared little girl underneath. You look so fragile, trying to make out that you didn't give a shit. That I wanted to protect you, he said. I found his confidence, his optimism, reassuring. Jamie Hall, with a lost, boisterous, bickering family in that sprawling house with his private school education, such a different life to the one that I had. Everything began to fall into place. Despite my upbringing, I was one of the lucky ones. I was a survivor. See, we winning. Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm sorry, y'all. Let me see if I can do it. Can I do it? I know I can, but will I be able to? Yes, I will be able to. Chapter 7. I can feel Jamie's eyes boring to me, so I dried the white sand off Ziggy's paws with one of the old towels we brought with us. I try not to look at him, concentrating instead on dealing with the dog. Eventually, I could bear it no longer. I snapped my head up. What? You, says Jamie. His arms are folded across his chest. His jaw set as though preparing himself for a fight. He's still wearing his coat. He leans against the kitchen island. This can't go on. I'm going to speak with Mom. Get her to recommend a therapist. I don't want to talk to your bloody mother. I don't want you talking to your bloody mother about me, I insist, releasing Ziggy and standing up. The daughter Sylvia knowing about my problems and using it against me later on makes my blood boil. I rush past him and hang the wet towel over the radio. Libby, he began, with that determined look on his face I know so well. Something isn't right with you. I know I'm not a shrink, but you're seeing danger everywhere. You have been since the fire. Take that man today. It could have been anyone. Yet you're assuming it's the same guy that was at Lizard Point yesterday. If you know what assuming means, drop it down in the comments for me. The security light is on in the back garden, and you automatically believe there's an intruder. But someone was in our garden, I interject. Today. That person could have been there yesterday too. He raises his hand. I know, but this house is usually empty. The man ran away as soon as he saw us. It doesn't have to mean anything sinister. He was just using the garden to get a better look at the beach. Or at us. Jamie's not convincing me, but I can't say anything without sounding paranoid. And so I shrug off my coat and drape it over the back of one of the kitchen chairs. Please. He comes toward me. His cheeks are still red from my walk. He places a hand on mine. It feels cold. I want you to relax and enjoy this holiday. God knows we both need it. I feel a lurch of guilt. The miscarriage affected him too. Yet all the sympathy went to me, and Jamie never complained. I'm sorry, I mumble. I hate feeling like this. I can understand exactly why you're feeling this way. But please let someone help you. He means his bloody mother. I bite my lips so hard I can taste the metallic tang of blood. He's a good man. The best. He truly cares about me. About his family, even though there are times when I wish he had more backbone when it came to his demanding mother. Maybe it's too soon to come away, I say, going over to the hot tap. I retrieve 2 cups from the overhead cupboard. Do you want a cup of tea? Please. He watches me in silence for a few moments as I place tea bags in the mugs and turn on the tap. Then he goes to the fridge for the milk. He places it on the counter wordlessly. Thanks, I smile at him. His eyes are still heavy with concern. The silence between us is starting to feel uncomfortable. Maybe it's too remote here, and it's making me feel jittery. I don't know, I say, handing him the mug. I can barely look at him in the eye to see the disappointment on his face. Jamie's more relaxed than I've seen him in ages, and here I am, ruining a holiday. Outside, I can hear the crash of the waves, the squawk of the seagulls. I can hear his disappointment when he says, but you can't let the man make you feel like that, Libs. I shake my head. I know. I'm sorry. I'm ruining for you, I say in a small voice. You'll never ruin anything for me. I love you. And we have Ziggy here with us. He'll protect us. He chuckles. His bark sounds worse than his bite anyway. He'll scare away any intruder. I smile tightly. And haven't you noticed? This place is like Fort Knox. He sounds like I do when I'm trying to reassure one of the children in my class that monsters and vampires don't really exist. The Haywoods are obviously security savvy. Look by the door. There's even a camera. You can see anyone who might be lurking outside. Not. he added hurriedly, when he knows the horror that must be evident on my face, that there is anyone lurking outside. My eyes dart to the security screen that Jamie's talking about. It's divided in half, one camera trained onto the front driveway and the other onto the back garden. But there are areas where it won't have access. All those hidden crevices and dark corners. I noticed the camera before, but if anything, it makes me feel more nervous. What would I do if I did notice someone trying to break in? The phone reception is sketchy here, and I'm not seeing any landline phones. Right? Sweetheart, said Jamie, if you really can't relax here, and after all, there's one of the reasons why we came, then we should go home. But the Haywoods, the Haywoods, they have to find somewhere else to stay. You're more important to me, Lips. Right, come on, let her know. I think of Philip and Tiara and their seriously ill daughter. I can't do it to them. And for what? Because a man was bird watching on the premises when he shouldn't have been? It's very unlikely to be the same man from Liz's Point the day before. They just had the similar style of hat on, that's all. I'm being ridiculous. I can't ruin this holiday. I love it here, and so does Jamie. We don't love it here, and you being ridiculous, and if you end up dying before this book's over, I'm gonna be like, I knew you was gonna die. Page 63. It's fine. Maybe I'll talk to someone when we get home. Get some counseling or something. I smiled non-committedly, knowing deep down that it would never happen. You might not make it home. I grew up in a family where no one aired their dirty linen in public. My mom was the old school mentality. Her manager being put up or shut up, which she did. Never complaining about her lot in life, or the throbbing pain in her leg, and then her chest as the throbbers traveled to her lungs and killed her. Jamie's mother, on the hand, thinks it's much healthier to express every feeling she has, which she does frequently. I'm not going to let anything bad happen to you, I promise, Jamie said seriously. I glanced at his long, rangy frame, at his skinny but toned arms protruding from his t-shirt. He isn't exactly tough looking. He follows my gaze. All right, he laughs, flexing his biceps. I know I'm not exactly Archie. And that's where we gonna leave it at. Him saying he not exactly Archie. And I think that's gonna be the title. He not Archie, but he will protect her. Boom.